Hi everyone, this is two-time World Poker Tour champion Jonathan Little, and I want to tell you about my training site, PokerCoaching.com. Poker coaching is the place to be if you want to increase your poker skills and learn to crush the games. It's the only place to quickly increase your win rate with active learning, so you can achieve your full poker potential without having to hire an expensive coach. Right now, podcast listeners can score a free membership by visiting PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer and get access to top training tools like our interactive hand quizzes, our 7, 14, and 30-day challenges, and a roster of elite coaches such as Matt Affleck, James Romero, Burt DraftGanger-Stevens, Michael Acevedo, and dozens of others. Again, that's PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer to get your free membership right now.
By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the poker authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 136, featuring Jennifer Shahade. Now, Jennifer grew up in Philadelphia as a teenage chess master, following in the footsteps of her father and older brother Greg, both of whom were very highly ranked. She traveled the world competing against the very best, and along the way became the first female to win the U.S. Junior Open, and also a two-time U.S. Women's Chess Champion. She is also the director of the women's program at the U.S. Chess Federation and a board member of the Women's Chess Hall of Fame. But Jennifer is also a poker player and has been a PokerStars mindsports ambassador since 2014. She has numerous scores on her tournament resume, most notably taking down the $10,000 buy-in high roller open face Chinese pineapple event in Prague. She hosts a chess podcast called Ladies Night, that's night spelled with a K, and also the award-winning poker podcast The Grid, which analyzes key hands through a player's career. This year she released her new book Chess Queens, the story of a true chess champion and the greatest female players of all time, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Jennifer, the body, Shahade. Shahade.
No, actually, Shahade.
Shahade.
I should put that somewhere, like on my. I know my friend has people now are like putting it in their bios with like a sound file. No?
Shahade.
Shahade, yeah.
Shahade. Shahade.
So it rhymes with body.
Shahade the body. Was
That's
that a
what they said in
nickname?
high school, yeah.
That's a great nickname.
Yeah.
As long as it's not ironic, you know what I mean? Shahade the body.
Yeah.
That worked. I might bring that up.
And then when I was in kindergarten, they said Jennifer Shahade goes to the potty.
Well, you know, I'm glad they graduated on that one. We should just cut this in right here. I am here with Jennifer Shahade. How you doing, Jennifer?
Great, amazing.
Yeah, you doing? Are you accustomed to Vegas time yet?
I am. Yes, I'm in Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker, and yeah, it's been a very intense trip so far.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like just time consuming? You got your family here.
Well, yeah, my family just got in, and I've just been playing like every day. A lot of tournaments in Vegas over the years when I've come out here. I've kind of combined my work and some socializing with playing. But this year I'm really grinding much harder than ever before. So
I saw you had a pretty deep run in the Turbo Bounty event, the 10K Turbo Bounty. That was a crazy one, huh?
Yeah, that was amazing. That's like my favorite format.
Did you score any bounties?
I scored 5, actually.
5? Okay.
Yeah, and I knocked out, let's see.
What were those, $2,500 each?
$3K.
$3,000 each, yeah. Nice.
So I knocked out Dave Bakes and Joe Chiang and John Ape-Styled Fleet, who I just started working with. So
that's cool.
That was very fun. I love it.
John's been on this podcast. Little Ape Styles, one of the winningest online players of all time. In this podcast, we do want to go back to the beginning, before poker.
Okay.
We're going to talk about you were born on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that a crazy situation, or?
Yeah, it was, actually. My dad was a blackjack player, so was my mom. They both like to count cards back in the days when the rules of blackjack were very favorable for the player. So the legend is that after I was born on New Year's Eve and everything looked all good, he went over to Atlantic City to buy the baby a new pair of shoes.
Really? I mean, a New Year's Eve baby. He thinks it's good luck. I guess you got to ride that wave. Did it work out?
I mean, yeah, they did make some money from blackjack in those years.
All right. Well, your dad, these weren't degenerates, your parents, right? Like they were. Your dad was is a master chess player, and your mother is a professor at Drexel. So I'm assuming there was an importance put on studying growing up.
Oh yeah. They loved this kind of combination, which of being like very serious about some things and then like also degenerate about other things, which I feel like is really the poker player mentality.
So that's kind of how they paid their way early on, right? With blackjack. Did they have like a team game going where your dad would signal the mom over or anything?
No, at that time you didn't need to do that.
Really?
That's
okay.
What they told me. They told me the rules were so favorable that if you purely just counted cards, if you had like a counting card system, not even like knowing exactly what was in the deck, but if you just knew whether it was hot or cold, like that was enough. Like,
right.
And then at some point they changed the rules to make it less favorable and they kind of moved on.
Did you ever spend any time trying to learn how to count cards?
A tiny amount. I didn't really enjoy it that much. Not from them, actually, from a friend. There was like a short period where I was doing that, but I didn't find it that enjoyable. I kind of just preferred poker, and it is time consuming. You need to really be in it, and you need a big bankroll. I think that's a key thing.
Right, you got to grind away while the deck is cold, and then somehow get away with the big bets when the count's in your favor, right?
Yeah, and then for me, I think it's always hard to like. One thing I'm really good at is like when I'm really exhausted, being able to seem like I'm thinking hard and I'm serious. And that's because of like my chess background. I'm able to kind of like get into that Beth Harmon, Rodin thinker's pose very easily, And sometimes fake it till you make it. Once you get into that pose, sometimes you really do start thinking about important things.
Right.
But doing the opposite, like thinking and seeming like I'm not thinking, which is of course what you have to do in something like blackjack, that is more of a challenge for me because that's the opposite, right?
Right. Don't look so deep in thought. This lady's not enjoying herself at all at the blackjack table. Maybe we should take a closer look at her. Hasn't taken a drink once tonight either. All right, so let's talk a little bit about growing up. You have an older brother, Greg, who is a champion. Wait, okay, so explain to me the ranking. So dad is a master chess player. Your brother is an international master, and you are a grandmaster?
Well, my dad was a 4-time state champion, and my brother is a very strong international master. I mean, honestly, in a lot of ways, he's grandmaster strength, especially in terms of blitz games. He's really, really good at like fast chess,
speed chess, yeah.
Which is, of course, what's become popular over the years because of the Twitch and YouTube boom. This is like the most popular format. And then my highest titles were, women's grandmaster and senior U.S. chess master, and mostly, more than anything, I'm proud of like the events that I won, which included 2 U.S. women's championships, and I also won a U.S. Junior Open title.
So it was chess all the time in this household, I'm guessing.
Not really, actually. My mom was good at chess, but she wasn't like professional level like us. So, but a lot of games, right? So, certainly like categories, Monopoly. My mom was very much into poker and bridge. So there was certainly like a game mentality. And chess came into it with my father and teaching my brother and Greg just kind of gravitating towards it immediately.
And were you just like the younger sister, like I gotta do what the older brother's doing, right?
Yeah. But in the beginning, I would say that I was more along for the ride. I liked chess, but I wasn't obsessed with it. I didn't like have a obsession with it or gaga mentality. And that showed in my results. So I was definitely good for my age, but I wasn't like big champion, especially around those early years where I was playing, traveling around the country, often with my brother and my dad. And I because of that, I got into some other things. I was a little bit embarrassed that my level was so much lower than Greg, my brother, and my father. So I was also involved in like, writing and
But you
theater.
were the junior champion.
Oh, but yeah, that was later.
Oh, okay.
That was later. So yeah, I
Well, in the book, you write about an inferiority complex.
exactly. Yeah.
Dealing with your brother, and the moment you finally were able, well, I don't think you beat him, but you got the better of him in a situation.
Yeah, and just in general also, I think the key thing for me was this feeling that chess was beautiful, that, was so gorgeously evoked in the Queen's Gambit. When I realized that chess was also an art, because I always had that creative artistic streak. When I realized it was also an art, I understood that my mind could really be well suited to it. That it wasn't only an analytical pursuit, because I'm definitely good at analytical stuff, but I'm not as quick as some people. So the creative ability really helps accentuate my my skill. And once I fell in love with those problems, the sacrifices, that's when my level really started to increase, which I think goes into that saying about how it's more important to be process oriented than results oriented. Because once you start to love the game itself, whether it's poker or chess, your results will come.
And did you feel, once you started to take it to that level, did you feel competitive in a way with your family?
Not that
more
much.
competitive? I mean, there is a moment in the book where you talk about ripping open a chess guide, ripping the cover off of it, and tearing every page out of the book, right?
Oh, yeah, that was fun. Yeah. Oh, no, I love books, so it is hard to destroy one, right? But viscerally, yes, that's a memory I had, because I was so frustrated that I wasn't getting better as quickly as some people around me, including my family. Everybody's learning curve is different. I think that's the key thing to remember. Some people skyrocket right away, and for me, it was more of an incubation period followed by a very sharp curve, vertical curve. So yeah, that's something people can really learn from. I think that they shouldn't count out anyone, especially not children, because they're not good at something right away. Sometimes people are soaking things in, and then eventually they get better.
And then it clicks.
Yeah, so that's the whole growth mindset over fixed mindset that you should always be thinking about, whether somebody is growing and interested and motivated, not what they're inherently good at, because if we obsess with those categorization and fixed mindset, we miss a lot of talent.
I should mention to the listeners, the book I'm, of course, referencing is Chess Queens, which is staring me right in the face right now. We're using it as a lovely microphone prop. But you can get that right now on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Fascinating book about the history of women's chess and some of the most notable players, and of course your own autobiographical story, expertly weaving throughout. I'm a big fan of the book, and I'm not even a chess person. I mean, I'm pretty terrible when it comes to the game. I basically know the rules and the names of the pieces, and that's about it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, I thought that because of the Queen's Gambit boom, and so did my publishers, that people would have enough working knowledge of chess that they could really appreciate the book, so there wouldn't be too much jargon, because the book doesn't have any technical chess information in it. But, knowing about the poker culture, there's a lot of similarities. So especially with this kind of recurring debate about, like, women in the game, I think that, understanding, like, how this has all played out in the world of chess would be, like, really fascinating for people. And it's not, of course, there's, like, some feminist theory in the book, but, that's, like, a pretty small portion of it, I'd say. It's more just, like, showcasing the women who have succeeded, so you can kind of look at that and see, what can we learn from that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I find the same problem when I write about poker, right? It's like, what's your audience? Are you writing for people who know the game, so there's like a shorthand you can kind of skip past, or do you have to make it approachable to the mass? And I found that you don't need to hold people's hands as much as you would think. This book in particular, Chess Queens, as a non-chess person, super approachable. Basically, more about personalities than the X's and O's, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. I had to make that choice because you don't want to leave out people. It's hard. I mean, of course, there's so many beautiful books that are written about, like, the chess analysis and the techniques. And those usually have a lot of pictures in them of diagrams, which, like, show you key moments from the chess game. There are none of those in this.
I cannot read those diagrams at all. I've seen many of them, and I'm like, what does that even mean?
That's similar to, like, a hand history.
Right.
So it's like, if you don't know, like, the shorthand, 3-bet, big blinds, all that stuff, it's just going to sound like Greek to you. And that is what a lot of my chess friends say when I post my poker hand histories. They're like,
exactly.
What is this? I don't understand.
Let's talk about, okay, so you're coming up in the chess world. You're seeing the world, right? Like, you're traveling all over for these chess competitions.
Yeah, I got to go all over the world. That definitely also deepened my interest in the game, 100%. Like, because as a creative person and as a person who wanted to learn about the world, the idea that being good at chess could allow me to go to, like, Brazil and Spain and Iceland and China and India, all these places I went to because of chess was very motivating, extremely motivating. That was like a fuel that I was like, okay, I keep doing well in chess and I can keep seeing the world and learn about things that, you'd have to be, like, really rich to be able to go to all these places at such a young age. So whereas when I was playing for my country, a lot of times, the expenses were paid for and, the travel. So that was a big motivator. And I've heard that from a lot of chess players, actually. A lot of young chess players are very attracted to that aspect.
In that, well, you mentioned the Queen's Gambit, the popular Netflix series, which has kind of sparked a different sort of chess boom in recent years. In that show, the Russians were considered the powerhouses of chess. You yourself played in Moscow, right?
Yeah, a couple times.
Is that still true today, or has the talent pool spread out amongst the globe?
Russia and China, America, those are some of the big powerhouses right now. United States, Russia, and China. In women's chess, also, I'd say Russia, China. There's also a lot of great players scattered in other countries, Bulgaria, Hungary, Cuba. There's a great chess tradition, but still, those are the big ones: Russia and China. Yeah, Ukraine. I have to mention Ukraine. There's a lot of amazing women chess players from Ukraine as well.
What's been your take on all this recent chess explosion? You've obviously been very busy.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's great to see, and I think that it just shows people are hungry for this game that can connect people from all over the world. And one of the things that chess has that other games don't have, although poker shares in some way, is it's very open. So nobody owns it because it was created so long ago. That's huge. If somebody owned chess, the ecosystem would be so different. In a way, I think it would be less competitive because you'd probably have like one company that would be making and calling all the shots about
gatekeeping,
where chess can be held, making sure that they make money on each game or each sale. And of course, people make money selling chess sets, but nobody has an exclusive right to sell chess sets. Nobody has an exclusive right?
Just a bunch of black and white on some cardboard, right?
Yeah, I mean, same with poker, right? Nobody has an exclusive right to run poker tournaments. Whereas, if you create a new game and you have like the copyright, it's a lot more complicated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe that's something underappreciated because like everybody's always coming back to chess and poker, and yes, the games are great, and they also have the history and the lineage, which I think is huge, but they're also uncomplicated by these financial circumstances that would exist if somebody like created it from scratch, right? Yeah. Which I think is pretty cool about chess. And then also because you don't gamble on chess online, the regulatory issues are non-existent for the most part, and chess is also really beautifully evoked on like streams and commentary.
That's me being rude, not you.
No worries.
So the listeners know. That's
I basically always have my phone off. Like 99% of the time my phone is off. So because I check it enough, I figure the last thing I need isn't paying.
Exactly. Sorry about that. No, but yeah, just speaking of the differences between the game, I mean, there are, in my mind, a lot of similarities, but the big noticeable difference is I don't think I could ever beat you in chess, ever.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that you're probably 10 times the poker player I am, I could probably still win a decent amount heads up just out of sheer luck.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the key thing. In poker, there's so much luck. I mean, I don't even think it's very difficult to appreciate just how much luck there is in poker. Like, I always think it's funny when people obsess over their, like, main event day one tables, like, whether it's a good draw or a bad draw. And, like, I get it in a way.
Right.
But it's also, like, whatever. Like, you could run good at a bad table and run bad at a good table. Like the actual variance of like the cards you get and the runouts you get are even more important. Like it seems like it's more of like a cultural like thing where people are like psyching themselves up or psyching themselves out, and you know I just try not to engage in that, to be honest.
Well, and also one of the similarities is maybe access to women, right? Or women who play the game. What would you say, which sport is doing a better job of attracting lady players?
That's a great question. Which one's doing a better job? Well, I think both sports are trying to do a lot more recently because it's so obvious. I think they're different in a lot of ways. I'll start with chess. In chess, it's like there's a lot of girls who play chess, but there's very few women. So, okay, they
age out of the game.
Yeah, because women have so many other responsibilities later in life, and you know they don't necessarily see a way to like make a career out of chess. And there are of course many exceptions, many of which are covered in Chess Queens, but overall the percentage drops a lot. Like in aggregate, you might have 15% female participation in the U.S. Chess Federation, but you'll really have like 25% among like girls, you know, especially like elementary school. And then you'll have more like 2% at adult level. And so the aggregate is 15%, but it's not really 15% across the board. Right.
Well, I think poker for like the main event, I think it's 3% is made up of women. Obviously, the other field sizes is higher percentage for women, but in poker. But yeah, you know, you yourself, you know, have done a lot of work to grow the game. You know, head of the women's program at the U.S. Chess Federation, board member in the Women's Chess Hall of Fame. And obviously, you run like these programs for youth to get involved, right?
Oh yeah, I do a lot because I think chess is so good for girls and women. I mean, first of all, it can really help you with like networking and with like expanding your circles. It can also be like a calling card. People think that if you're good at chess, you're smart, which is not always true. But the fact that they think that
use it to your advantage.
Exactly, is really useful.
I wonder if the same could be said for poker players. Do you think the average person hears that you're a poker player and they think you're more intelligent or less intelligent?
I think they think you're slightly more intelligent. I don't think they really think about intelligence. I think they think more that you're cagey,
a risk taker or something.
Yeah, or that you're good at reading people and that you're that you can be sneaky when you need to be. I think it's more like that. I think it's different types of skills. They're not really thinking about like intelligence. They're thinking.
Are there reads in chess?
Sometimes, but you know, a little bit less relevant. I mean, I wrote about one of them in Chess Queens. It's pretty rare. Once in a while, you have to have a poker face in chess, but it's a lot less typical. But yeah, and then poker's doing a good job recently. I mean, I'm part of Poker Power, which is one organization that's doing a lot to kind of bring more women into the game, kind of widen the base. I think the difference in poker, and you mentioned the main event and the low percentage, is that women just have less money and wealth. They have less income than men. So there's a wage gap, but there's also the wealth gap. Mm-hmm. So that's huge. So putting $10K down on a poker tournament is just going to be a bigger step for them, and on average. And so that's why you see fewer women playing. And I think like a lot of the organizations that are looking to like address that by bringing women into the fold, helping them with promotional buy-ins. You saw so much of that this year, especially on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And then also with just training tools so that they feel more confident. I think that's really key. And a lot of organizations out there. There's the one based in Austria, Herzdammen, and there's the old school ones that have been around for years, like Lip Store and Women's Poker Association, mm-hmm. and Poker League of Nations, and then Poker Power, which I'm part of, has like this really interesting corporate approach, which the idea is to also like go to major companies and get women who are leaders in business to learn poker, and then kind of like spread it out like via, teaching it as like a metaphor for life, metaphor for business. I really believe that poker is this incredible metaphor for life and for business, and that it has so much to teach us about capitalism and the markets, and why certain people succeed, and being able to like see through it sometimes, and see through like the skill, and understand more how luck oriented things are. Like in poker, it's so important. Like, what's the number one important skill for a poker player? People are going to say something like, math, or maybe reading people.
Gut feelings.
No, the answer is none of that. The answer is having money in the first place. And it's exactly the same as like, all of these tech companies in Silicon Valley that are successful.
Yeah, it's like anybody playing Wall Street. You need a bankroll and you need to hold on to it.
Yeah, I mean, having somehow like, $100,000 to start because you come from money, or because you had a job and then you quit it and you left with like a little nest egg. Like, that's by far the most important thing, especially now that it's like harder to play online and build it from scratch. So yeah, that I think is a really powerful metaphor that people like don't see that when they look at like super successful people in the world. They don't always see all of that invisible money that is making things possible, right? And so like, yeah, women not being successful in poker, like you have to train yourself to look at why that is. Well, they have less money, then they're responsible for more childcare, housework.
Right.
They're responsible for all these things that are taking time away. I actually said a bankroll, but I should have said a time roll also.
Time roll, exactly, right? Not everybody can take off for a tournament, let alone somebody who's got to shuttle the kids to school or make sure the household is prepared. And obviously men do that as well, but, society doesn't put that pressure on men to do so, You were like a commentator at the women's final table this week, and did a great job, by the way.
Thank
you. Seem very comfortable doing commentary. I've listened to you a few times now. Do you like doing that?
Oh, I love commentary. I'd love to do more of it. I mean, I've done. The reason I sound so comfortable is because I've done thousands and thousands of hours of it in chess. That actually, up until recently, now I've been kind of like pivoting to a little bit more poker and writing and women's empowerment, but still a lot of stuff. But I'd say one of my major things for the entire decade of the 2010s was commentary. I was doing it constantly, almost always chess though. So yeah, like I definitely get the vibe, and I love poker commentary because I feel like there's so much suspense as well. In chess, it's amazing because you're educating and you're entertaining, but in poker, there's also an even greater level of suspense, like who's going to win, whose life is going to change, and that really adds to everything. Like those three elements: suspense, who's going to win, learn something by the way people are betting, and then also entertain by like making jokes and rapport. So yeah, I love the combo.
Have you played any high stakes chess matches since you've been out here?
No. I haven't played chess at all. I've been out here for like a week and a half and only have played poker so far, but I played a lot, and yeah, it's been a blast.
There's been over the years some notorious chess matches that have taken place on the side of the World Series of Poker. Mm-hmm. Your brother famously beat Tom Dwan for $50,000 heads up what was the handicap in that match?
Rook odds. So Greg started without a rook, which is the second most powerful piece. So that's a pretty big disadvantage not to have a rook.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed the bishop was second most powerful.
Oh, now you know.
Given its corner position, but maybe that's a bad spot to start from anyway.
Oh yeah, the rook's actually starting in the corners. They are a little bit. So your actual instinct is correct.
Okay.
The rooks don't get to play until a little bit later in the game, but when they get to play, like in the end game, they're extremely powerful.
All I know is that it's definitely not the knight. It's definitely not good. That L shape throws me off every time. All right, so you wrote for Card Player actually an article about 10 years ago on gambling on chess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a big world for you, right? Like I assume this is bigger than most people realize.
Well, actually, I wrote that article. I remember. It's coming back to me. I remember that article. Actually, that was before I signed with PokerStars. And when I first signed with PokerStars...
You're welcome for the publicity.
Yeah, the brainstorming more than anything, I'd say. Because it forced me to kind of think through ideas. And when I worked with PokerStars, originally my role was to work on overlap between chess and poker. So clearly PokerStars was ahead of their time on that, as now it's such a big field. And speaking of which, Isai Scheinberg at PokerStars was, who was the co-founder of PokerStars and later sold it.
And now a Poker Hall of Fame nominee.
Yeah, Poker Hall of Fame nominee. Now he's very much into the chess space.
Okay.
So he introduced him to some guys at chess.com 5-6 years ago. And, now chess.com is blowing up. And so the Scheinberg family involvement has really increased in the chess space. In fact, the candidates tournament, if you just saw it, that was to determine who plays the world championship against Magnus Carlsen. You saw that it was in Madrid, and the Scheinberg family sponsorship was prominently displayed all over the playing hall, all over the tournament broadcast. So,
is there chess stars yet?
It's chess.com, yeah. And that does have, you do see a little bit of that influence, although I do some work for chess.com, commentary and whatnot, but I'm not privy to the details of their business model, but they do certainly have some of that kind of celebrity chess star feel to it, Hikaru Nakamura, Alexander Botez. These are all people who also have chess.com involvement, and then they've also become their own celebrity/businesses.
Yeah, the Botezes are playing some poker these days as well. Very popular on Twitch.
Well, Alexander, I guess Andrea is still under 21.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, only the legal one can play poker.
And there's all the streamers are.
Well, you mentioned Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah,
the highest rated chess player of all time. Which, by the way, I didn't know was possible. I thought you could max out, but I guess not. It just keeps going until anybody can, I guess, beat it. But he's playing the main event here at the World Series of Poker. How much overlap is there between the two worlds?
Oh, there's become more. It's funny. For a while, chess players were fascinated by poker. But I think after the poker boom died off, only the ones who really, really loved it kind of stuck around, like me, right? And then there was a period where, because of solvers, poker players got really into chess. Because they realized that solvers are kind of chessy. And they were like, oh, maybe if I learn chess, I'll kind of appreciate what the solver is telling me more. And actually, that was pretty smart. I think chess is very absorbing and poker is very absorbing. So it's hard to do both and have a balanced life. But I think just dipping your toes in the chess waters, it's kind of smart if you're a poker player. Just because you get a vibe for what this whole space is about that is a little bit more advanced pedagogically about how to get better and how to use tools. So I had just so many players over the years ask me about chess, and then the chess boom happened. Mm-hmm. And now the funny thing is you're starting to see, now that the chess boom is kind of plateaued, you're starting to see, because so many poker players made so many chess players made such great bank from the boom, they now have money to play poker.
Splash around in poker,
yeah, and it's fun to do something different. Chess is amazing, but one of the things about chess is it has a very wholesome element to it because there's so many children that play. So sometimes playing poker and just having an amazing time and being just a little bit more of an adult space.
That's right. We're not teaching poker to kids. I just realized this. There's no camps to teach children how the rules of poker. Oh yeah.
Sometimes that's kind of appealing, I mean, I love the educational
it's a gambling
elements.
game. It makes sense, though.
Yeah, of course. I love the educational elements of chess, but sometimes it is nice, to be in a completely adult space, because I think that occasionally in chess, what happens is there's a bit of ageism, because there's so much obsession with education of children that sometimes it overwhelms everything else. So if you're not a kid, or if you're not a 19-year-old rising star, you're not that interesting.
You're over the hill. You're washed
Exactly.
up. Yeah.
So that's an interesting space in chess, where they need to focus on their market, which is a lot of children, and the power of chess as an educational tool, while also not leaving out the possibility that grown-ups could learn from the game as well. There's a guy out of Charlotte who came up with this concept, which I loved. It was called the Alto Tournament, at least 21. So it was a chess tournament, but you had to be 21 to play. Mm-hmm. And this made it more of festive atmosphere. And it sounds kind of terrible to people.
Sounds like drunk chess.
Well, people weren't drinking during the games. Okay. But maybe after. The idea was that you could have a cocktail hour and not have to worry about carding people, right? After the game.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, if you go to an open tournament, the majority will be kids. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't like it when I was a kid, but that's how huge Scholastic growth in chess has been. Now this has been more of a silent movement. It's there are articles about these great chess teams all over the country. There are movies like Brooklyn Castle, which was about a team out of Brooklyn that became the best chess team in the country. But I think this kind of Scholastic growth has kind of been more quietly in the background. For many, many years. Chess is just kind of growing. And it's all among the children. Yeah.
You mentioned some poker players who play chess. There's Dan Harrington, famously played a bunch of chess. Dan Smith, is he considered the best poker playing chess player out there?
I would say, in a way, yes, from the poker playing side. Because he was very good. He was very good at chess. And he still plays. He's still interested in getting better. But then there's also, I would say the other people are maybe Grishuk, Sasha Grishuk, who's a former nosebleed PLO and no limit hold'em player from Russia, who is also in the top 10 players in the world. So that's pretty sick.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
To be dominant in two sports like that.
Yeah. Although he doesn't play as much poker anymore. But then there's also, honestly, there's also Magnus himself, top chess player in the world. But he does play good poker. I saw a hand from the Norwegian Poker Championship where he pulled off this very sweet bluff, and then also I just heard that, the word is that he plays very well in high stakes private games, But we'll see. We'll see how interested he gets into poker, because he's going to be playing this World Series of Poker. Is he going to get bit by the bug, or is it going to be a one-off? Right.
I know he has that deal with Unibet and he plays a bunch of events, but yeah, how much time can he really devote to poker? There's also, some other names I came up with here. Ivo Donev, James Obst, Elon Schwartz, Arkady Sinus. You ever played any of these guys for...
Oh, so many. Yeah, I played some of them in the poker space, some of them in the chess space. Elon and I were both in Brooklyn for a long time, so I definitely know him. There's also my good friend Katie Stone, who... There's a lot of people who are also in the business of chess. So, she ran this big chess company, and then she sold it, and now she's a professional poker player. But, that kind of chess space influence.
I did not know that was her background. Interesting.
Yeah.
Super cool. Okay. We do have some rapid-fire questions to close it out here, if you're ready.
Sure.
If I can get my computer to work. All right, first of all, can you handicap a match between me and you? What would it take for me to have a shot at beating you?
Oh, gosh. From what you've said so far. So you didn't know...
I didn't call it the horsey guy.
Well, you didn't know that the rook was the second most powerful piece. So therefore, I think I could at least give you rook odds. But I don't know. I might be able to go higher.
You can go way higher. You're giving me too much credit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking...
Queen odds, maybe.
I'm thinking you start with 5 pieces of my choosing.
Now you're hustling me.
No, this match is not going to happen. I'm just being honest about how bad I am in this game. I'm a very reactive player. 3 moves later, I'll be like, oh, I see what you did back then when you took my piece.
I think maybe we could do a rook and a piece or something.
It would be way higher. Trust me. You would laugh at how bad it came out. All right, let's get back here. Best shot you ever took, whatever that means to you.
Oh, wow. Best shot. Oh, a great question. I love that. I played the open face high roller championship that I won. I flew
Open face pineapple Chinese? Was that what it was?
Yeah. I flew into Prague that morning, and I wasn't really thinking I was going to play in it, but I kind of like stopped by the tournament to maybe check out the scene for like the next day. There was like a 1K, and just ended up popping in the tournament after like looking at the field and talking to a few people.
This 10K event?
Yeah, and just was like, I don't know, up all night. 3 a.m. the next morning, I ended up winning it, and yeah, that was a huge score for me.
That's a cool one, and it's such a fun game to do it into. It's not spread everywhere.
Yeah.
So, what was your worst job before poker or before chess?
I started playing chess seriously when I was so young that I've had very few jobs that didn't involve teaching chess. Because think about it this way, like,
yeah, you've been in from the beginning.
I was a chess master at 16 years old. So if I were going to be, I could give like chess lessons for $50 an hour. Like that was the rate for somebody of my level. So of course I was going to do that as opposed to like working in a restaurant, right? Like, it made more sense. Although I guess people working in restaurants could definitely make more than $50 an hour as well. But like even at the time, you would have to like work your way up to being like an elite server. And
right. Most teens aren't gonna get that. That paycheck in high school.
And I'm so clumsy that I would be terrible at that. But I did have one like job that I can bring up. I was a bridge caddy.
A bridge caddy?
Yeah, so you like ran around the room and like you gave people like
like at a bridge club. Okay.
Yeah, you collected. I don't even remember, it was so long ago, but you collected like decks of cards and things like that.
Yeah, like a chip runner at a poker room.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's a cool job. I don't know if that one's come up before. Artistically speaking, what are your talents? Do you play any instruments? Are you I see your lovely son's paintings on the ground here.
Yeah, I was always a really diligent student, and the only C I ever got was in art.
Really?
But then, then I started in school. I studied in NYU. I studied art history, and I learned about Marcel Duchamp and conceptual art. And I married a filmmaker and photographer, and later on we've had pieces in museums that are like related to the overlap of chess and feminism and art. I saw the picture in the book of you with a naked man. Yeah, exactly. We've had that, and I've had installations in Amsterdam. We even had a piece that ended up in like a Guggenheim show. So I think that it's interesting that I got to see in art, and then later I became so artistic. Yeah. And I would argue chess is in itself an art form, as is poker, But I think the artistic side of me is more in more in fashion and performance, and less in like drawing and painting. I think that's the thing. I thought of it as very narrow. It was like if you weren't good at like drawing things, you weren't like an artist, right? Like when I was a little kid, that's what I thought, because you're sitting there like in grade school, and like people are drawing things, and like they're more talented than me, so I thought like, okay, that's art, right? So having this more expansive idea that art is like creating things that didn't exist before, you did mention in the book that you went to theater camp. Yes, I did go to theater camp. Yeah. Any good memories from that? I did have one good memory, which I actually didn't make it to the book. Ms. Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man. Yeah, so I was very unpopular in the theater camp, which I did write in the book. So everybody like made fun of me, and I had no friends. But there was a Miss Pac-Man machine, and the most popular, best-looking guy, and I would play Miss Pac-Man, and I would always win. Of course. And I remember the thing was that like he thought this was really cool, and people were like surprised that I was like hanging out with like the coolest guy at the camp. And it gave me this kind of like insight that like, yes, sometimes men will be intimidated by successful women and smart women, but sometimes they'll be impressed. And the ones you care about are going to be impressed. Right. You talk about that in the book as well, the dynamic. And I guess that's an issue in poker, right? You have to size somebody up and go, is this the guy who does not want to be beat by a woman? Or is this the guy who's going to treat me differently because I'm a woman? Or is this the person who's going to get more competitive or, like less competitive? How do you
gauge that and in a moment's notice.
Yeah, that's important, and that's why it can be hard for female poker players because in reality, poker is already so draining, the marathon structures. So if you're starting to think about these things that like a male player doesn't have to think about, it can definitely be draining. So yeah, it is very tricky. And on average, though, I think people believe that you're probably bluffing less, so maybe overfold. But there's also the occasions where they don't want to fold because if you are bluffing, they don't want to be really embarrassed.
Right. Why is the ego got to be a part of this?
But overall, I try not to worry about it too much and just think about my ranges a lot because, it's just otherwise. I think poker is so much about stamina, and you got to look for those spots where you don't drain yourself. That's why one thing that's really important to me is pre-flop ranges, because you get pre-flop every single hand, and if you don't have it down well, you're going to be exhausted by the end of the day because you're like trying to figure out shit from scratch. Like, somebody in early position opens, somebody 3-bets, and you wake up with 10s in the big blind. Like, if you're sitting there, like, just trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, you're going to be so tired by the end of the day. Every single hand you have that, and of course that doesn't mean you shouldn't deviate. Please deviate. But, like, the fact that you're trying to think about things from scratch all the time, it's very bad unless you have unlimited energy.
Yeah, some sort of baseline has to be in there already.
Yeah, and flops, there's so many potential situations and flops and turns and rivers that, if you're not like a full-time professional who's, playing online and studying nonstop, you can't expect to have everything down. But pre-flop, there is like a more limited amount of possibilities. So like that's a really good place to like save your energy.
There you hear it, guys. Start with pre-flop. Don't study heads up. If you're a tournament player, that makes no sense. You won't get there often enough. You mentioned stamina. What was your longest session at the tables ever? Both chess and poker.
In chess, I've definitely played like a 7-hour game that was then followed by
single
another game. Yeah.
A single game taking
definitely.
7 hours?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, because like basically you each have 3 hours, and then if you make enough move, they might add another hour to the clock.
Wow.
So, yeah, it would be one of the longer time controls, but I think I've definitely had one that's about 7 hours. Yeah.
Brutal. I can't even play Monopoly for that long.
I know, and then you might have to play another game on top of that.
Man, what about like those speed chess matches that you were talking about? Like you just do a bunch of those in a row?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played for 7 hours straight, but because it's also so many games. Like at least when you're playing one 7-hour game, like when it's their move, you're not thinking as much.
That's right.
A little bit, but not
a little bit more
time.
downtime in a 7-hour game, I'm guessing.
And in poker, I mean, I don't think I've had my sessions rank among the top degenerate ones. It's just something pretty pedestrian, like just playing all night and having breakfast. Something that probably would be pretty boring to your listeners.
Some people haven't done that listening. So I can't remember who the player was, but somebody out there was like, I don't know, like 11 hours? Mm-hmm. Like, I guess you're just a tournament player. Like, that's as long as they run every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go play more cash. All right, if you could download one skill instantly, like in The Matrix, what would you choose?
Dancing.
Dancing?
Yeah, I've thought about this before.
Wow, that was a quick answer.
I just think dancing is beautiful because I love exercise and I love art, and I feel like dancing is this kind of like fusion of, using your body and also, using it in an artistic way.
Rate yourself as a dancer 1 through 10.
Yeah, probably like a 4 or something.
Okay.
I feel like I have some abilities, like inherent abilities with movement, but my rhythm is very bad.
You're not Elaine from Seinfeld here. You got a little bit of movement to you. All right. That's a good skill to download.
Well,
okay.
One of my best friends is a dancer, and we did a piece called Hula Chess where we combine hula hooping and chess. And so I have the artistic vibes with the hula hoop because she taught me. And yeah, it's just like I was saying with art. Like you can think you're not good at something, but what you really need is more practice, And by the end, she looked like a chess player and I looked like a dancer.
How do you play hula hoop chess without knocking the pieces over?
The chessboard hangs from the ceiling.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
of course it does.
Of course, this is actually one of the art projects that I'm probably most proud of. It's actually one of the first ones I did with my husband and with Gabrielle, who's the dancer. I just really love that piece because it represents so much about myself. which is synthesis, like combining things that people wouldn't expect you would combine.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like the feminine and the masculine and the linear and the circular. So you're like hula hooping, and you're also playing this game which is mostly made of lines and just exercise and brain work. Just like the ability to like combine these things, I think is, you know, is beautiful.
Where can people see that?
It's on YouTube. You can just like Google hula chess. Pretty easy
Okay.
to find. There's also a bunch of photos and stuff. We ended up doing like a couple different versions of it. Yeah.
What's the weirdest place you've ever played poker or chess for money?
Let's see. What's the weirdest place I've ever played poker or chess for money? Well, you know, I used to play open face, high stakes open face, and I would play on my phone. So I would just play in the most random places. Yeah.
That was quite a boom
in like a
for a
yoga
while,
studio.
wasn't it?
I think once I was like so excited. Actually, this was like a wake up call that maybe I should play less. I remember I was taking a yoga class, and I was like so excited about the open face hand that I had going on. I took a break.
This is a fantasy land for sure.
I took a break from the yoga class to go play an open face move, and I was like, oh god.
That was a boom for a little while. Is this still going? Do people still play games?
I think some people do, but I don't. I don't. Yeah.
Do you have a celebrity doppelganger, or growing up did people tell you look like anybody?
So many people have said Lake Bell.
I could see Lake Bell. I guess depending on the strength of the red in your hair, you know, Lake Bell for sure. I could see Lake Bell. Yeah.
And there's another redhead from this show that I can't remember right now, but yeah, I really like. There's this redheaded lawyer from The Good Wife, this show, The Good Wife. That I think that's another one. So yeah, those are a couple that I think of.
What's an underrated food combination you enjoy?
I love things that are. I love the combination of very healthy and very unhealthy. So
chocolate covered broccoli.
Yeah, well, not exactly that, but like anything like with like a salad with like, you know, like a brie omelet or something.
What? Okay, that's a combination for sure. What is your most prized possession?
My most prized possession is I don't know if I have any. Like I just I don't think I'm very
Some of your son's artwork, perhaps?
Yeah. That question about like whether or not if I was like leaving my house, if I would like grab anything, you know, like
most pictures are in the cloud these days, you know.
Yeah, well, I do have my mom has passed about 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, and she has a journal which is like really brilliant, like thoughts. So I guess I would say that since we haven't scanned it, but I guess that's just a reminder that we should scan that thing.
Yeah, get on that. Get on that. What are you interested in that most people aren't? So excluding chess and poker.
Okay.
Any weird hobbies?
Well, I feel like a lot of people think it's boring when people post about their like exercise and diet plans, and I'm actually like fascinated by that. I'm like, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you like? That's something that other people find boring. That I'm always like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah, no, seriously,
Yeah.
I really do want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you superstitious at all?
No, I'm not superstitious, but yeah, not superstitious. No.
0%.
That's a little high. I mean, that's a little low. 0%'s a little low. It's a little low.
You're not gonna wear the same clothing the next day if you run well.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But I will like I do appreciate the beauty of coincidence. I would say I'm not superstitious, but when beautiful coincidences happen, I find it very like fun to just like note it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if somebody, was just talking about Queen 9 and then they get Queen 9 and win a big hand about it, it's like it's fun to note it.
Yeah.
But it's not like I believe that it was heaven sent.
Right. Any phobias?
Yeah. Falling backwards.
Into what?
Anyway, I don't know. That's the problem. I mean, that's exactly the
Oh,
problem.
do you mean like, you don't mean like literally falling backwards?
Yeah, no, like if we have to play trust and I have to like fall backwards and somebody's supposed to catch me or something.
No, I'm not doing that.
I don't like that game.
I don't trust anybody like that.
I don't like that game.
I wouldn't put my wife back there.
And then like I noticed this was a phobia because I never had a huge fear of heights, but like when I had to do like rappelling or rock climbing and stuff like that, I really, really hated like just like propelling myself backwards.
Yeah,
because
that
you don't
trusting the rope is not much better.
Right, because if you are gonna fall, you would prefer to like fall forward and like figure out how to like go like cover your head. Yeah,
you just don't want a blind backwards fall. Okay. So if you guys see Jennifer at the series, don't do that childish stunt where one of you gets behind her and then the other one shoves her over. Don't do that. That would be terrible to do that, and you'll probably get thrown out of Bally's. Do you collect anything?
I collect my beautiful son's artwork.
I see that. He's crushing it here with the abstract. Time travel to the past or the future?
Oh gosh, to the past or the future. Actually, my son's making a time machine.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I think he's mostly focused on the past. So we're working on it. Yeah, he wants to see his softos.
His what?
His grandmother's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's working on that. So I guess I would go with the past then.
So you wouldn't go to ancient history or anything?
No,
like that?
no. Just to see loved ones.
Yeah. Okay. What's the most beautiful place you've ever seen in person? You've been all over the world.
Yeah, it's really a tough one. Iceland is extremely beautiful. Mallorca, Spain, is also gorgeous. In America, I think a place I feel like it's a bit underrated is San Diego. It's just so gorgeous.
I love La Jolla.
I'm
a big fan of San Diego. Favorite album?
Bjork. Probably there's so many good ones, but probably the one where debut, I would say that's a good one. Yeah.
Favorite chess movie?
Well, I can't say The Queen's Gambit because that was a Netflix series, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go with Brooklyn Castle, which I mentioned briefly earlier, which is a documentary about this chess team in New York. I actually taught there a little bit, and the head coach is a friend of mine. It's just a really inspiring story about how you can really create greatness with good coaching.
If you could pick the entertainment for the Super Bowl halftime show, what would you choose? Bjork?
Well, yeah, I really do like Bjork.
Can you imagine all those football-loving Americans just watching Bjork at the halftime? I
love the one with Shakira and J-Lo, though. That was really good.
That was cool.
And then I like Rihanna a lot. I liked Shakira and J-Lo because people got so upset about it. Like,
there you go.
These beautiful women are too talented and sexy.
Right, what are they doing there? Who was your celebrity crush when you were growing up?
Oh my god, this one's really embarrassing.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
Vanilla Ice.
What? Vanilla Ice? Does your husband know this?
I think I might have told him once. He's Israeli though, so like I'm not sure he really understands.
No, I caught a look at your husband. He doesn't look anything like Vanilla Ice. Let me tell you that, which is a good thing. You know, Vanilla Ice is a house flipper now. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he like performed for like Trump and Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, it's not my proudest. It's not my proudest celebrity crush. I should have made something else up, but that's the truth because that's what I remember. There was all these like magazines with him on the cover, and I was like, oh, cool.
Do you like telling people you're a poker player? Random people, the Uber driver.
I usually don't like. I don't. Random people, I don't mind it. Depends, it just depends on how long of a conversation you want to have, because I think it's a really interesting like jumping off point, but there's a lot of misconceptions, so you need like a little time, I'd say. So if you're gonna have like a really quick conversation, I'd say I don't like it, but if you're gonna get in for something long and deep, I think it's pretty great. Yeah. You
have an award-winning podcast called The Grid, one of your 4 billion projects that you're always involved in. Is there a question that you like to ask people that you'd like to be asked?
On The Grid, yeah. Well, I ask people on The Grid. What we do is we like zoom in to a very interesting story or hand that somebody played, and then we like use that as like a jumping point to zoom out. So
right. So they pick a hand on The Grid.
Mm-hmm.
king nine of diamonds, let's say. It's not what I would choose.
And then they tell like a story about like why that hand was really interesting to them, and then we zoom out to talk about their like approach to poker and chess. So, why would you pick king nine of diamonds?
I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
I just said a random hand. I don't even know what I would pick. I don't have any hands of interest that are like meaningful to me in any way. I guess most people have taken aces by the... Oh, what's left on your grid?
There's a lot left. You know, and like if the player's really strong, I try to get them to pick something weaker because I figure they have like heads up experience, so maybe they can pick something off. But
right, don't take up the aces.
Yeah, Jamie Kurtsetter took the aces.
There you go.
Yeah, she took it right early. Grab and go. I think Ace King is a hand that, you know, carries a lot of emotional weight for people because it's like hard not to have an interesting hand with Ace King because it's often like a very, very good bluff candidate because of the blockers. And then, you know, if you're deep enough, it can be a really good bluff catcher. I mean,
right.
Sometimes if you're shallower, it's like a trivial, like, you know, get it in. But I just think that it's hard not, if you play poker for a while, it's hard not to have an interesting hand with Ace King. In fact, somebody wrote an entire book all about Ace King.
Right. And, you know, even if you're telling a bad beat story, it's going to get beat by Ace Queen quite a lot. So you have that as well. Any near-death experiences?
Yeah. I actually wrote an article for the Wall Street Journal recently about being results oriented in poker and in life. And one of the stories I mentioned was how I was in my Brooklyn loft apartment at the time, and I was grinding a poker tournament. It was ages ago. I was actually probably just getting into poker, and there was a 5-minute break, and I tripped over this like wire and just it was on like the second floor of the loft, and I like my body propelled towards the concrete floor, and this was a miracle. Like I somehow landed in a couch, but the weird thing was like the couch wasn't even underneath me.
Yeah.
So somehow my body just like my instincts took over, and I almost like flew to like the left to like fall on the couch.
Change momentum midair.
Yeah. It was amazing.
You were pushed by a ghost.
You know, your body, I guess your instincts take over, you know. I was very young at the time also, so like really good instincts at that age, I suppose. But I managed to fall on the couch, and literally I wasn't hurt at all. Mm-hmm. Like nothing. But my body was shaking uncontrollably for hours. Yeah. Because like I think you're nervous.
Because the alternative was...
yeah, like paralysis or something, yeah. And then I had another one too, where I almost like, you know, I woke up in a fire in Belize. So yeah, those two. And definitely
that's a story to glaze over. You woke up in a fire in Belize?
Yeah, gas lamp.
Okay.
Yeah, exploded, yeah. Yeah, that was sad. It was a beautiful place, and I was there to teach girls chess. And actually, it was the first night I was there. So, and it turned out fine because somebody ran with fire extinguishers and extinguished it. I think one of the things is a potential. I don't know that much about fire, but I do check I am paranoid since that incident, so I always check, like, I'm the nerd who actually, like, looks for the fire exits and, like, like actually plans when I go to a place.
I got paranoid. I watched a video online, viral video, anybody could watch it. It's of this small concert venue where they just had, like, some pyrotechnics on stage, like some sparklers or whatever. They caught a curtain, a fire starts, people laughing. Within 6 minutes, the entire building is gone, and, like, hundreds of people are dead. You know, just from like the quickest fire, the way it spread caused a stampede to get out the one exit. And ever since then, every time I'm in like a big crowd, I'm always like, okay, where is it? Where can I escape if needed? If somebody decides to do something stupid here, you know?
Yeah. So that was so basically, the fire wasn't spreading that quickly for some reason. So that was really, I mean, fortunate. I think maybe it didn't have anything to catch, and also Belize is like incredibly humid. So I don't know if that has something to do with it as well. It's not dry at all there. It's like literally like, you know, I had a book. I would take a book in Belize, and by the end of the trip, it looked like I spilled a glass of water on it. You know how like ruins books?
It's the sponge soaks up the air.
Yeah, exactly. So I was fine, and they were able to put out the fire. Somebody came running into the room with an extinguisher as I was waking up. But of course, it's scary just to think about, you know.
What movie quotes do you use on a regular basis? Anything?
Wow, now I use chess is not just competitive, it can also be beautiful.
Okay.
Though that is from a Netflix series.
That is from the Netflix series.
I hope that counts.
You mentioned living in Brooklyn. You went to NYU.
Yeah.
You were there on 9/11.
I was, yes.
What was that experience like for you?
Well, I hadn't gone to class yet, so I wasn't like stuck in the subway or anything like that. So I was just in Brooklyn, and yeah, it was a really crazy time. Obviously scary, and really made me reassess my life for sure. I think a lot of people had a similar type of. If you weren't, a lot of people listening to this might have been so young they don't really remember that time. But I think even during the pandemic, a lot of people had like a similar reckoning with like how they were going to spend their life. Realizing how fragile we are.
Yeah, anything can change in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Even falling off of a wire onto a couch. So, do you have a bold prediction for poker's future?
Yeah. Well, I think we're having a record-setting World Series of Poker here, and I believe that poker is going to keep growing, and that we're going to see maybe I think we're going to see a new variant potentially. There's going to be because there's been a lot of like little changes that actually mean a lot. Like the introduction of bounty tournaments, the big blind ante. I think we're going to see a few more tweaks like that coming in the coming years that make poker kind of like a moving target.
That'd be cool. Change it up a little bit. Why isn't the main event PLO? Oh, yeah, exactly. Who knows? Maybe 20 years from now it will be. We end the podcast the same way every time, with a question from the random question generator.
All right. Hey. Random question generator. So do I have to pick a number or no?
I'm just going to click a button. There we go. Would you describe yourself as a clean or messy person?
Definitely closer to messy.
Okay, well, let me rate this hotel room. Obviously your kid's art is out, but other than that, pretty well done for. I wouldn't rate you as messy compared to other poker players.
Okay.
I've been around.
Well, compared to poker players, then I'm definitely like on the average to clean side. But compared, like that's a low bar, right?
I won't name names, but there was one poker player in particular. I came to interview him in his hotel room, and I was shocked at how little he cared about his appearance or what was out. But I just moved the laundry and then I sat on the couch, so it was all good. This is much better. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing the stories.
Thank you so much for having me. I love what you do, and I really appreciate your interest in my work and my book. And onward.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, go get Chess Queens right now on Amazon and wherever books are sold. That is it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Jennifer. Go buy her book, Chess Queens. Go listen to her podcasts, Ladies Night and The Grid. Go play poker with her on PokerStars. And definitely go to YouTube and search for Hula Chess. That is a mesmerizing 5 minutes. You can find Jennifer on Twitter at Jen Shahade, or find us on Twitter at CardPlayerMedia. If you like the show, then please make sure you are subscribed. And if you really like the show and want to go the extra mile, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Then let us know you did so with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com for a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. Thanks for listening.